Welcome to the ODDSBREAKER'S #1 place for shared, sharp betting information.
All right, welcome back to podcast 38 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow us on Twitter at the ODDSBREAKERS. Follow us on social media / the ODDSBREAKERS. This episode is being brought to you by mybookie.ag for a 50% sign-up bonus. Please visit mybookie and use the promo code the ODDSBREAKERS. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs, sponsor the podcast, we would love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $17.99 a month, you can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, sports are ramping up, and it's this time of year for fantasy football. And our guy, D Nasty, is back to break down some key positions in your draft. Very excited about that. We also have UFC Fight Night 174. And I'm going to cover my research and plays with you, minus a few premium as usual. So, huge episode today. And I'm very excited for this weekend because we have baseball, which I already sent a premium play out for. And we have UFC, which we all love. And of course, we can start thinking about what we're going to do for fantasy football. If you'd wish to contribute to the ODDSBREAKERS, if you're a handicapper, please feel free to reach out to us on our website, because if you can bring some value to our listeners, to our readers, to our subscribers, it will also help you get your name out there a little bit better. So I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to contribute, network a little bit. If you have any questions for us at the ODDSBREAKERS, feel free to reach out to us. We love hearing from the public. We love answering questions. After all, we are all in this together against the books. Before we get into D Nasty on fantasy football and our UFC plays and breakdowns, I wanted to just mention that there seems to be a lot of breakups lately in the radio land. You know, lots of shuffling around. Ratings have been going into the tank. They're realizing that maybe, just maybe, you can't have 30 minutes of commercials per hour. Maybe some are not even realizing that because they're just switching people around, putting who knows who in what spot. Some, in my opinion, some of the good ones are actually being left out in the dust. But I have to remind myself why people listen to podcasts. And I think podcasts are one of the big reasons why Radio Land is in so much trouble. For podcasts, they are much more niche, right? People hear exactly what their interest is. You know, we don't talk about people's feelings in sports. We don't talk about people's politics in sports. We just talk about sports betting and all the aspects of it and all the fun that it brings us to give us a distraction away from the rest of the world. That's what people want. They don't want to hear your corporate agenda. You know, they don't want to hear from your sponsors. They don't want to hear something tailored to fit society in a way that takes away from your interests. People do not want that anymore. Unfortunately, these radio shows have people to answer to, And so that's why they are in such trouble, because they are not matching up their listeners properly with what these listeners really care about and want to hear. Instead, they hear things that kind of drift away from sports and drift away from what's important. So, that's all I have to say about that. I'm really happy that we have you listeners out there. I thank you for that. You guys are the best. Keeps me motivated every day. Keeps me trying to be a better podcaster, a better sports better. It makes me want to work harder, wake up earlier, stay up later. It's all worth it for me because this is fun. I have nobody to answer to, and I have you guys as my friends. That's just perfect. It's perfect for me. Don't get me wrong. When I lose, I do get down on myself. But when I win, I'm also extremely happy. And I hope that I bring interest and happiness in your lives when you're watching sports on your television set or with your friends, wherever you may be at. Now, that's the goal. Having fun is what I'm all about. I don't want to sit here and spam the hell out of you with ads you don't want to hear to make a few extra bucks. We've been offered it many times. I've always been anti-commercial. I've always said that the most I would ever do if we did it is like 30 seconds in the beginning or 30 seconds in the end. Something like that, less than a minute 30. But I haven't even done that because I really don't want to. I like my stance better on not spamming the people that listen. And I'm hoping it goes a long way, but if it doesn't really matter to me that much anyway, because I'm having fun, what I'm doing, and I'm extremely fortunate to have you listeners out there and all of your support over the last 4+ years. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Without further ado, let's get into some UFC Fight Night plays and breakdowns, my friends. And I spent some significant time going over as much as I can. I found a few plays, and unfortunately, of course, we have to pass on a few fights because we could not find any value. But that's going to happen all the time. You can't, just pick a fight and have a play on it. If you do that over time, you're probably going to lose. I don't think you can find an edge on everything. You can dig as deep as you want, but if you have to keep digging, there might be a reason why. Sometimes you're just looking for something that might not be there, and sometimes you end up justifying it. So I'm always careful not to do that. And so to start out, I'm going to talk about the main event. A lot of times I talk about the main event last, but unfortunately in this case, we're not going to have a play in the main event. Robert Whittaker and Darren Till are just two similar fighters. Minus 125 for Robert Whittaker is a slight favorite, 21-5. Darren Till 18-2-1, plus 105. Both, obviously, they're in the 185-pound. They're fighting in the middleweight class. Very similar guys, both 6 feet tall. Average fight time, both 12 minutes and 20 seconds for Whittaker. 12 minutes and 36 seconds for Darren Till. Takedown average per 15 minutes, 0.75 for Whittaker, 0.66 for Till. They like to fight on their feet. Significant strikes. The percentage is 40% for Whittaker, 46% for Till. I guess Whittaker does land more per minute, 4.82, and Till is 2.41. But as far as KO percentage, you have to give that one to Till. At 59%, he wins by KO or TKO, and 48% for Whittaker. Looks like the grappling is a little bit shaded towards Whitaker. You got the strikes for Till. The grappling is shaded towards Whitaker at 57%. I think that these odds are right on. The records are pretty close. They've both lost to some of the best guys. They fought some serious fights. I mean, if you look at Till, he lost to Mastival, which we just saw in that main event, and against Usman. And then Tyron Woodley, he lost to. 2 of his 3 last fights he lost to. But those were his only 2 losses, 18-2-1. Robert Whitaker, he lost some pretty good fighters. Israel Adonijah, the champ. So it's not like this is a great fight, but they're both just too evenly matched. I wish I had a play for you, but it's the main event, so I have to stay away from this one. The next one down, though, we can take a look at Mauricio Rua versus Rogerio Nogueira. And this is a light heavyweight bout. It looks like Rua is minus 185, big favorite here. And Rogerio is at plus 165. Age, Rua is 38 and Nogueira is 44 years old. That's pretty old. If you look at these fighters, Rua has won 21 times by KO, TKO, 1 submission and 4 decisions. Nogueira, 8 KOs, 6 submissions, 9 decisions. He tends to go to decision a little bit more. Rua's definitely got the striking advantage, 50.89%, significant strikes to 34.75% is Nogueira's significant strikes. Landed per minute, 3.63 for Rua, 2.39 for Nogueira. Some of the notes that I wrote is that this is kind of the battle of the old farts. I mean, when the youngest one is 38 years old, you know that they're pretty old. Especially Rogerio, he's 44. I mean, a 6-year age difference here. Okay, that's pretty big. What I've noticed is that there might be some value on a prop. All right. I don't love Rua at minus 185. I think those odds are correct. But looking at inside the distance for Rua is at plus 135 in some books. All right. And being that Rua is the better striker, I think he's going to be going for a KO. 21 of his wins were by KO, TKO. Only 5 weren't. He's going for it, right? You got to think that. The biggest thing for me is I look at Nogueira's stats. He hasn't went to a decision in a fight since 2015. Rogerio is old and he doesn't have the stamina anymore. All right? Does not have the stamina to do what he used to do. He had a couple fights in 2016. One was over. He won in the first round. Then he lost in the third round to Bader. Then in 2018, he lost to Alvey. I'm sorry, he beat Alvey, but it was in the second round. But then he lost to Spahn in May 11th, 2019. He hasn't fought since then. He's going to have some serious ring rust coming into this one, in my opinion. So that's something key that you have to think about. How long ago he fought them. I mean, at least Rua fought back in November of 2019. Roughly a 6-month difference. 6 months closer. Right? He had a split decision and a draw against Craig. The one before he won in a KO, TKO. He hasn't been into a decision since 2016. So I think Rua wins the fight at plus 135 within the distance. Book it.
Well, it's a great day for me to whoop somebody's ass.
Next fight, we are going to look at a heavyweight bout. Fabricio Verdum versus Alexander Gustafsson is going to face off. And there is a serious weight discrepancy in this one. Verdum is old. 23, 9-1, great career, 42 years old. Still old, obviously, not as old as 44 as before. And Gustafsson is a lot younger at 33. And that's why Gustafsson is a minus 340 and Verdum is plus 280. Okay? So looking at this fight, Verdum has won 6 KOs or TKOs, 11 submissions, 6 decisions. Then he had 9 losses and 1 draw. Gustafsson, 11 KOs, TKOs, 3 submissions, and 4 decisions. He lost his last 2 fights. Both of them actually lost their last 2 fights. Both lost to great fighters. Verdum lost to Alexander Volkov in a KO, round 4. And Verdum also lost to Alexei Olenek in a split decision. Now, Gustafsson's last 2 fights, he lost to John Jones by KO, TKO. That's okay. The champion, if you lose to John Jones, you're going to get a pants. All right? And then he lost to Anthony Smith, which ended up winning by submission. He got caught on that one. Smith's a good fighter. Well, very good fighter. 32 and 15. Yeah, I'd say he's a pretty damn good fighter. Here's something that I really like about Verdum. He fought Alexei Olenek. Okay? And we know how good Olenek is. He was a champion before. And he went to a decision with him. At 41 years old or whatever he was back then, 41 or 42, he made it to a decision in that fight. That's pretty impressive to me at that age, fighting such a good fighter like that. Another thing is that Verdum lands 52.33% of his significant strikes, and Gustafsson is 40.43. All right? That's pretty good. That's a nice little advantage for Verdum there. Lastly, Verdum outweighs Gustafsson, and I know Gustafsson's probably going to be not at 205. He might be at 215, but 220 by the time he fights. But Verdum's going to be around 245. He's going to have a 20 to 30 pound weight advantage over Gustafsson. So even though Verdum is 9 years older, he has some significant advantages here. Not only does he land more significant strikes per minute, and he's more accurate on his significant strikes, he's also better, or at least toe-to-toe, with his grappling. His takedown average is 1.71 per 15 minutes, and Gustafsson is 1.56. Gustafsson's accuracy is better, 39% to 31%. But if you look at Verdum's, some of his victories, 11 of them are submissions. Only 3 of them are submissions for Gustafsson. So, just thought I'd throw it out there. I don't think that these prices are correct. Minus 350 for Gustafsson just because of age. plus 280 for Verdum. This deserves one of those shots. This bout here, in my opinion, deserves a 2-star shot at plus 280. All right? That's my opinion. I didn't make it premium yet. I'm still thinking more about it, trying to figure out why these odds are so off. I was hoping to talk to Cub fan Danny tonight, but he's just swamped this week. Couldn't get a few minutes with him. That's okay. But I just do not understand the line here. So I had to make a play. I'm okay with losing it. I like Verdum here at plus 280. What a great payout it would be if we take this one.
So hot right now.
All right, and the last fight that we are going to talk about is another fight on the main card. We have Paul Craig versus Gadzhimurad Antigulov. So there's really one major thing that sticks out to me in this fight, and it's major. Paul Craig, 32 years old, 12-4. Antigulov, 33 years old, 20-6. If you look at Antigulov's wins, 4 KO/TKO, 15 submissions, and 1 decision. All of his losses, none went to decision. His only decision happened a while back. Long while back, actually. Let me find his last decision. November 14th, 2014, and it was his only one for Antigulov. Look at Paul Craig. 1 KO/TKO, 11 submissions, 0 decisions, and he's never lost in a decision. 12-4-1, 17 fights, never went to a decision. You know what I'm thinking, right? Well, unfortunately, it's like minus 350, minus 400 to pick fight doesn't go to a decision. But in my opinion, this fight is going to be over pretty quick. Paul Craig, he's a big guy. He's 5 inches taller, major reach advantage, 76 inches to 70.5. So he's got a 5.5 inch reach advantage. But if you look at the odds, they seem to think that the fight's going to be pretty close. Antigulov is plus 110. Paul Craig is minus 130. Looking at their records and looking what they've done, both of these fighters really haven't been all that challenged. Antigulov lost his last 2 fights against decent fighters. He hasn't beaten really anybody big. A lot of no-names out there. He has a good record, but he's only been in the UFC for 4 fights. He's 2-2 in the UFC itself. Paul Craig has had more UFC experience, around 8 fights, but he's only 3-4-1 in the UFC. He really hasn't beaten anybody either. In some of his old divisions he has, and that's why his record is 12-4-1. But from what I'm seeing, neither of these guys get to the distance, and it seems like these fights get over pretty quickly. So I like the shot of taking the under 1.5 rounds at minus 120. I think they're going to be throwing some blows at first, and then I think they're going to go right to the ground, trying to put in some arm bars, some triangles, rear naked chokes. You can definitely see that possibly happening. If you look at Paul Craig's last bouts, he went to 3 rounds, of course, in his draw, but then the last 2 fights before that were over in the first round. But if you look at Antigulov, First round ended last when he lost. First round before that. First round he won before that. First round before that. The one back in 2016 was when he went to 2 rounds, and then 3 fights beforehand was over in the first round. Out of his last 8 fights, only 1 went past the first round. I think this price is wrong at minus 120, and I like it all the way up to minus 175. I'm going to take this for 2 stars. This fight is going to be over before a round and a half goes by.
Unreal.
All right, well, that's all I have for our UFC event for this weekend for my free plays. Now it is time to get into a little bit of fantasy football for 2020. Let's bring on our guy, D Nasty. All right, and now it's finally that time of year for a little bit of fantasy football, and we got the best fantasy guy that we know back to go over some of the key position rankings, Mr. D Nasty from D Nasty Fantasy Sports. What is happening, David?
Not much. Just trying to survive in this crazy world right now with all the COVID stuff. Welcome to our COVID edition of fantasy football, folks.
Our 2020 edition, we should just say. It's been a terrible year, but, sports is finally here, ramping up, and it looks to me like there's going to be a football season. So, a month ago we were just like, oh, my God. But it kind of started easing its way in. The Players Associations agreeing with the owners on testing and things like that. So things are moving forward. So now, both me and you decided great minds think alike, and we sent out our invites to our fantasy leagues, and hopefully we put some smiles on some people's faces, man.
Definitely something to do during this downtime when you can't do much else. So sports is my lifeline right now.
Yep, mine too. So fantastic, man. I am excited to go over some of these position rankings. So for the listeners out there, we're going to go over running backs, and we're going to kind of break it down. I'm going to go over my top 25. David's going to go over his top 25. We're going to do it in the increments of like 5. Then we're going to do tight ends, and then we're going to do defense today. We're going to kind of just limp into this a little bit. The following week, we're going to do quarterbacks, wide receivers, and possibly either IDP or just some rookies, because nobody cares about kickers. And then we'll have another podcast where we actually talk about running back rankings, as far as not rankings, but as far as percentage of load. Like some are split, some are like 40%, 40%, and then the third string will be 20% or 15%. Sometimes it's 70-30. A guy like Ezekiel Elliott's more like 80%. So we'll go over that. I thought last year that was a very big hit when we did that, and we got some good reviews on that one. So fantastic, Dave. You ready to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right, my man. So let's go right to running backs here, and I'll go over my top 5. And I have to tell you, I don't know who doesn't have this, but I have CMC, Christian McCaffrey at number 1. 421 fantasy points last year, while Derrick Henry was second in a half-point PPR league at 293.
It's crazy.
That is a over 100-point difference there, 129-point difference between the first and the second running back. That's insane, David.
I know. I had him in one of my leagues, him and Pat Mahomes, and I finished out of the playoffs. Figure that one out.
How the hell did that happen, my man? Well, you're in like 10 leagues, so I'm sure you figured it out somewhere else. But that's kind of the ebbs and flows of fantasy football. Sometimes when it rains, it pours. You might have a defense that day that'll give up 20 points on you or something, depending upon how the league's set up. But nope, CMC is number 1 for me. I know he's got a new coach in Matt Rule this year, and to be honest with you, I think that might benefit him a little bit. He's more of an offensive guy than Ron Rivera, so you have to have him at number 1. And number 2 for me is a little bit more controversial, because a lot of people have Saquon and I don't. And I actually have Ezekiel Elliott at number 2. And what I wrote down here, he's durable. He's always showed that he can catch a few passes. And last year, 4.4 targets per game. They got him a little bit more involved in that passing game. But with the huge load that he carries there, the fact that he goes against defenses like the Redskins, defenses like the Giants, I think the Eagles defense might take a step back this year. And the fact that it's the Cowboys' year, Dak Prescott has all this pressure on him. I think Zeke's ready for a huge year, man. So I have Zeke at number 2. And number 3, I actually have Derrick Henry. And I'm concerned about him staying healthy because of his huge load share last year. But he's just the number 1 bell cow in Tennessee. And they figured it out with him last year. And teams that even stacked the box against Derrick Henry couldn't stop him. And the guy is just an amazing athlete. I am shocked of how he can take a beating or a licking and keep on ticking, right? So it was tough for me to put him above Saquon. But the fact that Tennessee made the playoffs last year, the fact that it looks like they're going to be in it at least too close to the end or all the way to the end, I think that they'll be fighting for a position in the playoffs at the end. I could see him playing hard in Week 16. I like Derrick Henry there. Number 4, I have Saquon Barkley. If he missed a few games, I think last year, just a couple. He's the bell cow in New York, but New York hasn't proven to me that they are not going to be passing the ball a lot in the fourth quarter. And I know Saquon Barkley is huge in the passing game, but they don't have a lot of wide receivers there that are any good. And so they're going to be covering Saquon Barkley. They're not going to let him run loose. They're going to be watching him on screenplays. So that's why I have him number 4. And number 5, I have Alvin Kamara. He had an off year last year from what was expected from him. I think he was a number 2 pick last year, if I remember, Dave.
He was.
I think he was. Not 100% sure, but still has the offense behind him with Drew Brees there to thin out the defense and give him a lot of opportunities and space. So I have him number 5. Dave, what are your thoughts on what are your top 5 rankings?
Well, mine are going to be a little bit different than yours, Kiev, but I do like your rankings. But I like mine better. Christian McCaffrey, Run CMC. I got him at number 1. Like you said, he's the bell cow. He's the best running back in fantasy football right now by far. The quarterback change actually will help him as well. Teddy Bridgewater will dump it down to him. He'll be his check down and safety valve. So he could even have more receptions this year if that's even possible. And then that running option is gone with Cam Newton taken off. So he's going to see even more carries too as well because Teddy Bridgewater will not be running the ball, especially with that bad knee, even though he had that bad knee injury a couple of years ago. So he's not going to be running it at all.
True.
I got number 2, Saquon Barkley. I do like Saquon a lot. If you look at targets per game, Alvin Kamara was at 6.9. Saquon Barkley, 5.6. Ezekiel Elliott, 4.4. So actually, he did throw the ball, Saquon Barkley, a lot more than Ezekiel Elliott. And with him having a healthy full year, I do like him. I do like the development of Daniel Jones. I think as he gets better, it's only going to improve Saquon's stock as well. And they did add 2 offensive linemen as well, one in the draft in the first round and one in free agency too. So that's going to help the line as well. So that's another reason I'm moving Barkley up to number 2. Number 3, I do have Ezekiel Elliott. Like I said, he got less targets per game than Saquon did. I do still like him with a nice offensive line there. They had a couple injuries, but they still have a massive offensive line. They do have a nice offense too with CeCe Lamb there now, and then they actually have some nice young receiver in Gallup and then Cooper too as well. So they will be airing it out more, but the offense will be one of the top-ranked offenses in the league. Number 4, I have Alvin Kamara. Like I said, he was the second to Christian McCaffrey last year in targets per game. And then if you look towards the second half of the year, in weeks 10, 11, and 12, he had 10 targets, and 9 targets. So right there, it just shows you how much Drew Brees likes throwing to him. And I don't see Latavius Murray taking many receptions away from him. And then at number 5, I have quite a big surprise here, but I don't have Henry in my top 5 just because he doesn't catch a lot of balls. I have Delvin Cook. My Minnesota Vikings like running the ball. Kirk Cousins can throw the ball still as well, so they don't stack the box, but they do like running the ball. And then Delvin Cook's going to definitely be their bell cow if he's not holding out. So definitely watch that. But I do think he'll sign. I do think he'll be in camp. So I have Delvin Cook at number 5.
Delvin Cook Good old Viking. And no, I like it. I like your thinking there. It's hard to go wrong. You didn't say Derrick Henry, right? He's not in your top 5.
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's my thoughts too. I think Zeke has proven his durability and Saquon hasn't, and that kind of has my thoughts towards him. Now, don't get me wrong, Dave. We're in a league together where I have the second pick of the draft, so I'm going to have to double down on what I'm saying here, and someone's going to be probably surprised that I didn't pick Saquon. I threw out a poll the other day, and about 50% of the people said Saquon, and there was 3 other players there, and so he definitely had most of the votes for second place or second draft running back being picked. So I totally see that, and any of those guys that you said could have amazing years. Why don't you go ahead and break down your 6 through 10?
All right, you have a little more of a surprise here. I have Derrick Henry is a little bit lower even. So at number 6, Joe Mixon. I do like that offense. They are getting their offensive tackle back that they drafted in the early rounds last year. So the line will be better with the offensive tackle back now. And then they have Joe Burrow there as well. And T. Higgins, too, on offense as well, who they drafted. So they got some nice young skill players there on offense, which I really think will help Joe Mixon as well. And then he did have a nice year last year. If you look at his stats from last year, he did have a really good year last year. So I look for him to improve in that up-and-coming offense. Nick Chubb, I have at number 7. I do like what they're doing there as well. They signed Austin Hooper. They did add some linemen as well through the draft and through free agency, too. So they did improve the line there as well. Kareem Hunt will take some targets away from him, unfortunately. But overall, he's going to be the main bell cow there. So I do like him at number 7. Number 8, I do have Derrick Henry. I do like him as well. In the past, he's been injury prone, though. Last year was the first full year he played. He doesn't catch as many passes either, and they will be stacking the box. Ryan Tannehill can keep people from stacking the box somewhat, but I'm still not sold on Ryan Tannehill there. I think he might be that one-year wonder there. But the system might be fitting him as well, so we'll see. Jury's still out on Derrick Henry, but I still got him in my top 10 at number 8. Number 9 is one of the guys I really do like a lot, Miles Sanders. I was very high on him last year, up-and-coming running back. Jordan Howard's gone. He's going to be taking over the show now for the Eagles. They will be relying on him a lot. He will catch quite a few passes this year as well. He did last year as well. He was a great receiving back out of the backfield. So he's one of my favorite picks in the top 10 is Miles Sanders. Number 10, this was hard right here. This was kind of like Kenyon Drake or Austin Eckler. It can go either one here. I went Kenyon Drake, though, because I do like him. He's going to be the one that's going to be the bell cow for the Cardinals. They did have some pieces, too, for them. Adding Hopkins is going to take some of the pressure off the running game. So I do like Kenyon Drake at number 10.
Well, there you go. I have some disagreement with Joe Mixon there, and I know they're getting a draft pick back that was injured for the whole year. I forgot his name, and he was a tackle. He's a pretty big draft pick, but he's still a draft pick. He still hasn't proved anything in the NFL. I don't think Cincinnati has done nearly enough to fix that offensive line, and it could be just one of those years where Joe Burrow is way behind because their defense sucks, and they're just chucking the ball the whole day. So I don't have Mixon as a complete bust, but he's pretty close to bust for me. So that's the huge disagreement I have with you. But the other stuff I totally get. Aaron Jones, and this should shock you, I have him at number 6, Dave.
Wow. I like it. Wow.
I hope you like it. It was gift wrap for you, my man. It was hard for me to do as a Bears fan, but he averaged 4.3 targets per game, and he was the 4th running back in points per game last year. Number 4.
What you have to remember, though, when Adams was out, is those 3-4 games that he had a lot of those receptions during that time, though, too, as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, they checked out, but they're going to check down to him again, and I just know that LaFleur has that offense that's going to be more power this year. That's kind of why they drafted Love. They're going to be more of a running game this year. They have the defense kind of now to do that as well. They're going to have some nice gadget plays for Jones. I can't not look at the fact that he had that many points in fantasy last year, finishing with, I believe,
19 touchdowns.
How many was it? 19?
19 touchdowns. He's not going to repeat that. That's why I have him down. No way, 19 touchdowns.
Yeah. I was that's a misprint. 19 touchdowns is fantastic. 18.4 fantasy points per game, man. And I know they drafted another back, but he's more of a Brandon Jacobs kind of guy. He might take a couple touchdowns away this year from Aaron Jones, but I was shocked with Aaron Jones last year, and I think that he's going to be a bigger role even this year under LaFleur. It's just kind of the way I'm seeing what the Packers are doing with their offense this year, so I'm high on him. He's number 6 for me. So,
I can't argue with that one, Kiev.
Oh, there you go. Number 7, I have a guy that we know very well, averaged 3.4 targets per game, didn't even play a full season last year because he held out, Mr. Melvin Gordon, and now he's going to be pretty much the bell cow for Denver. I know they still have Lindsey, but they paid Melvin Gordon for a reason. They brought him over there for a reason. He is on a better team now. He's on a defensive-oriented team, which means that they're going to run the ball a lot on offense. Going against some of those defenses like the Raiders, kind of like in that. Kansas City's never been known for a great defense, and they turned it up a lot last year, but they lost some guys. L.A. Chargers, what are they going to do this year? What's their defense? I know they have a couple guys on the ends, but what's their rushing D going to be this year, right? So I like Melvin Gordon at number 7. I think he's going to be a huge part of it. Number 8, I do have Nick Chubb. Just like you, pretty high on him. He was in my 6 through 10. I'm high in Cleveland this year. I love how they fixed their offensive line with Conklin there, and that big draft pick out of Alabama. They really did some work there, and Chubb was fantastic last year, right? I'm pretty sure Chubb finished in the top 11, top 10, 11 in points, 15 points per game. Really liking what he did there. And for the next one, I have, this is my first sleeper, Dave, and I don't know why he's a sleeper. I look at all these other running back rankings on other fantasy sites, and he's way down there. But why is Raheem Mostert so low when what he did in the playoffs was just absolute beast mode, man? The guy destroyed the Packers. If you remember, he was good in the Super Bowl. He's an absolute beast, and I know Coleman's there, but he's asking for more money, and maybe that's why. And he asked for a trade, but he's starting to clear things up now. And his agent just had a meeting with the 49ers management, and they figured out there's going to be a deal done, from what I'm hearing. So I actually have Mostert at number 10. I don't know. I don't know what happened to this guy, man. I'm still baffled by it, but I had to bring him up, and he's my first sleeper of the draft, Dave. So what are your thoughts?
I don't like Mostert at all. He's not even in my top 25, unfortunately. With him trying to request the trade, he's never played a full season at running back. I don't think he can handle the whole workload there. Even with Coleman spelling him, I don't think he can play a full season. So I don't like the Mostert pick, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but I don't like that pick.
All right, well, let's see what happens with him. But the 49ers, the guy looked unstoppable. People couldn't catch him. I like him at number 10. And to be honest with you, in the second round, and I'm not going to pick till late in the second round. If he's there, I'm probably going to have to scoop him up. So I'm going to go through 11 through 15. 11, I do have Kenyon Drake, and you had him pretty close to there too, it sounds like. Very excited for Kenyon Drake this year. They did some work on their offensive line. They could have done a little more, but they did some. My only concern is, will he be overshadowed a lot by Kyler Murray? Is Kyler Murray just going to do Kyler Murray stuff and avoid the running back? I don't know. But Kenyon Drake, if you remember how good he was for Miami and how good he was last year towards the end of the year, he's going to have another great year. It was tough for me with Nick Chubb, Mostert, and Drake. I could have any of those guys in any 9, 10, or 11. Doesn't matter. Next one, I have Leonard Fournette. And I thought I was going to be lower on him, but I'm actually higher on him than some. He was 4th in receiving yards per game, and that shocked me. I remember he's more involved in the passing game now. 552 receiving yards was amazing. Over 1,000 yards rushing last year on a terrible Jaguars team, right? So the only concern is that the Jags are supposed to suck this year, and Fournette could hold out when he hires a new agent. He fired his agent. There's a chance he's going to hold out, but there's also a chance he's going to try to prove something this year too. So I like him at number 11. Number 12, I have Miles Sanders for some of the reasons you said. I'm slightly lower, only a couple positions lower on him. He's going to get more of those Jordan Howard carries, as you said, Dave. Totally agree with that. But on the Eagles, he still hasn't proven it completely for me. And he's still a RB1. But he's hanging on to an RB1 in my opinion. Not low on him, but I'm not quite as high as some people. Josh Jacobs is my next one at number 13. He's the bell cow for the Raiders, but still lots of questions for the Raiders. Delvin Cook, I have at number 14, and people are way higher than Cook, right? They're around 5, like you were, Dave, 5 or 6 or something like that. But I'm concerned about him going to hold out already. He threatened that he's going to hold out this year, right? And, and that worries me. I had to bring him down for that. I'm going to bring him back up if he doesn't. I'm going to bring him back up, and everyone's going to shift the spot, okay? But I have to think about if we're doing the draft right now, and he's possibly going to hold out. I have to lower him a little bit. All the talent in the world, but if you remember, he also got injured a few times. And then number 15, I have Austin Eckler, and he was second in targets last year and in running back receiving yards. But the new quarterback worries me. Tyrod Taylor coming in there, I have no idea what to expect. And now they're not going to have that downfield threat that they did with Phillip Rivers. They're going to stack the box a little bit more. Austin Eckler might be covered a little bit more. They know that he did the damage last year. Everyone knew that. So I don't know what's going to happen with Eckler. He's kind of small. So I only have it at number 15, Dave. What are your thoughts?
All right, well, I'll break down mine now from 11 to 15. I do like the Eckler. I do have the same questions you do with Eckler, though, too. With the new quarterback, that does worry me. He's more of a receiving back, though. He will get a lot of PPR points, though, with all the receptions he'll have. Tyrod Taylor, he'll run a little bit, but he's still going to definitely check down to Austin Eckler, though, too. He does like throwing to his tight ends and running backs. So I have him at 11. I do like Josh Jacobs as well. I'm drafting him and training for him in a lot of my dynasty leagues right now. He's one of my favorite backs. He won't get as many receptions, but he's going to be the definite bell cow there. He got 90% of the carries there last year. Gruden likes him as well, so I do like him. Possibly even getting some receptions this year would definitely help his stock as well, but he's a nice young running back that I do like. I got Aaron Jones at 13. With the drafting of A.J. Dillon, that does worry me a little bit. He's in a contract year, though, so that does help him. I don't see him getting to the 19 touchdowns like last year. I think Dillon will take some TDs away from him. And then Jones does have a little bit of injury history as well, so I could see him getting banged up a little bit too. But for overall, though, his year last year was awesome. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Packer fan, so I definitely love Aaron Jones, but I don't see him repeating what he did last year, especially with A.J. Dillon. I see him getting some carries as well. They can snake some TDs away from him as well. 14, I do have a nice sleeper here. 14 and 15 are two sleepers here that I have, kind of like your Fournette and Mostert. I got 14, I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Anyone that's going to be in offense for Kansas City is definitely going to get the ball a lot. He's going to be like a Brian Westbrook kind of guy. With Andy Reid loves to throw to his running backs there. If he's the starter, he's definitely going to be one of the top 10 running backs. Mahomes loves throwing to the running backs there, and he's definitely going to get a lot of carries too. But it's all going to depend if he wins the job away from Damian Williams, which I think will be hard with no training camp or limited training camp and limited preseason games. So definitely a sleeper. Number 15, rounded out, Jonathan Taylor, JT, baby. I do like him a lot. I know Marlon Mack is there. I do think halfway through the year he's going to be the main guy. Start the year out, there will be a timeshare there, which we'll talk about in one of our other podcasts down the road. But I do like JT a lot. I see him. I think he was one of the best running back in the draft. athletically, and for all the carries he got at Wisconsin and all the experience he had at Wisconsin, I do like him at number 15. And the Colts have one of the easiest schedules in the league and one of the best offensive lines in the league too, which does not hurt.
Oh no, not at all. And I got to tell you, he had huge stats. Huge combine 4.3 speed. Coming in with his size at 226 pounds. I can't argue with you there. I am questioning Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit. I mean, if you want to crown him, then crown his ass, right? As Denny Green's going to say. But you can't forget that what Williams did in the Super Bowl last year.
No.
I mean, that huge breakout touchdown that completely ruined the 49ers' hopes and dreams. I mean, you think he's just going for a first down. He's burning down the sideline, broke a few tackles, and scores that touchdown. That's Damian Williams, man. I thought he, after doing what he did in the Super Bowl, he deserves to be the number one guy for a while in Kansas City. And go ahead.
I agree. He's definitely a sleeper, like I said here. If he does win the job, he's definitely going to be one of the top backs. But I do like Damian Williams as well, too. But this is definitely a sleeper pick here if he does win the job. But I can't argue with you on Damian Williams. I am high in him as well.
All right. Well, I have Edwards-Helaire a little bit out of my top 25, but not too far. Jonathan Taylor is going to be ending it up. So I agree with you on Jonathan Taylor. I think he will, just because of his athletic ability and size, will take over that after Return of the Mac unfortunately gets demoted. So why don't you go ahead with your 16 through 20?
All right. There are going to be some surprises in my 16 through 20. At 16, I have Todd Gurley. I do like that he went to the Falcons. Falcons have a high-octane offense. Really is going to have a great year. They have Julio Jones there. Hayden Hurst, who I'll talk about in our tight end wrap-up, too, when we go over those. But I do like Todd Gurley. He's going to be the main guy there. If he can stay healthy and prove that he's healthy, I think he can put up some big numbers there. And Matt Ryan does throw it as running backs there as well. So I do like his chances to put up some big numbers there in Atlanta. Number 17, I have Chris Carson. Him and Rashard Penny both coming off some injuries from last year. But if he's healthy, Chris Carson's definitely going to be the number one in Seattle. Seattle will have a good offense, and they will definitely give him the ball a lot to keep the pressure off of Russell Wilson. So I do like Chris Carson at 17. Melvin Gordon. I do agree with you, Kiev. I do like Melvin Gordon a lot. I do think Lindsey is going to take some carries away from him, though. I think that's going to be more of a running back by committee. I think Gordon will be like a 60-40. I think Gordon will get some more carries there, but I think Lindsey's not going to roll over that easy. I've read some reports already saying that he's going to fight for his job. He's not going to give it up easily to Gordon. Plus, they drafted 2 receivers very, very high, so I do see them throwing the ball out, and they drafted a tight end as well. So with Hamler and Juddy there, and then with the rookie tight end, but I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Definitely they're going to be trying to throw the ball, I think, a little bit more as well. But that's where Melvin Gordon will excel because he'll get more catches out of the backfield than Lindsey will, and they'll definitely be playing him on passing downs. So I like him at 18. 19, I have James Conner. A lot of people have forgotten about him after he was injured most of last year. He's still going to be the bell cow for Pittsburgh. He's a top 5 running back 2 years ago, so I definitely can't forget about him. If he's healthy, he's definitely a top 20 running back for sure. So 19, I think, is a pretty generous for James Conner if he's healthy. Number 20, Le'Veon Bell. It hurt me to put him here a little bit just because I'm not a big Le'Veon Bell fan after all his drama in Pittsburgh and his bad year last year. I won't draft him in the top 10 ever again. I never have, though, either. So I'm not one of the ones who got burned with him, but I know a lot of people that were. So, but if he is healthy and their offense looks like it is going to be improving, they have some pieces to that offense with Mims and Perrine at running back to back him up. So they have some young pieces there on offense. And if Darnold can get his act together and start throwing the ball to you, I think Le'Veon Bell could have some value there as well.
All right, man. Well, that's some good stuff there. It's I can't disagree with some of that. Great stuff. There's a couple guys that I have ahead of some of yours, and so I'll just get started at Chris Carson at number 16. I still have him in Seattle here. What can I say? I mean, Seattle runs the ball a ton. They do. They've led in carries the last 3 years, something like that. He's also going to pick up a couple passes. So I think Chris Carson is still going to be important. I mean, the Seattle's offense is going to be great, and Russell Wilson leading the way there, very dangerous. Number 17, a sleeper, a lot of places have him around 25. I have Devin Singletary from Buffalo. I expect him to be the bell cow now that Frank Gore isn't there. This might be a huge season for Singletary. And, I don't know how much they trust Josh Allen's arm, but I think that Devin Singletary is going to pick up where he can't perform. And so I like Devin Singletary for an RB2 and a very good solid one. The next one I have, number 18, is David Johnson for the Houston Texans. I'm a little higher on him too than other places. The question is, will he stay healthy? But it's still, they still paid him. Well, they traded for him, and his contract was big. So they expect him to do a lot. And there's not a lot of competition down there in Houston, man. Not really. It's going to be, it's really him and nobody else. So he's going to get a majority, a very, very large majority of the carries. Number 19, you can't forget about Mark Ingram. And I know that for some reason, Baltimore's drafted like 100 running backs the last 3 years. but it just seems like Mark Ingram's the guy that doesn't stop. He's healthy. His carries suffered a little bit, but you're still looking at a Ravens run first type offense, and their defense carries the team a lot. And I just think it's safe because his low side, there's not a lot. There's a high floor is what I'm trying to say. There's no super low side that he's going to get 2 or 3 points. He's always going to get 10 points, I think, So I think Mark Ingram is a solid at number 19. And number 20, I agree with you with Le'Veon Bell. He's getting old, but they got some more help on that Jets offensive line. So liking Le'Veon Bell there. Any thoughts on that?
No, I like the Singletary pick a lot. I'm really high on him too. I have him a little bit lower in my rankings, but I definitely could have moved him up easily. I'm really high on Devin Singletary as well. I like that pick a lot.
All right, well, I'll just quickly finish the 25 times a ticking here. Todd Gurley at number 21, getting older, don't trust his knee at all, and I also don't love Dirk Cutter's offense, what he does with running backs there. As you see, Freeman, ever since Shanahan left, has really declined. I'm concerned for Gurley, and the Rams seem to know something. So even if it comes to me, and I'm in the third round or so, I might be avoiding Gurley. The next one I have is James Conner, number 22. He's still the starter for the Steelers, but that offense was absolutely horrible last year. So,
Big Ben was out too. You got to remember.
Yeah, and I was about to say that. But Big Ben's back, but how rusty is Big Ben going to be? And Big Ben's definitely got a lot older, and he's a big guy. Who knows how long he can keep going? It's not like he's super in shape like Brady or anything. So I'm concerned with that. But, I do have number 22. Then I do have that Joe Mixon for some of the reasons I said before with the offensive line. And new quarterback with limited practice. I know it's a great quarterback supposedly with Joe Burrow, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to be an avoider of Joe Mixon because he's going to be gone before he gets to where I like him anyway. Number 24, Jonathan Taylor for everything we said before. Love his potential. He will take the number 1 position from Marlon Mack, and we won't be playing Return of the Mac anymore. And number 25, David Montgomery of the Chicago Bears. I don't know. I don't know what the Bears are going to be on offense last year, and it was terrible. But they have to be a little bit better this year, and he's going to get the carries. And Tariq Cohen's going to get a lot of the passes, but he's still the starting running back for a team that won 8 games last year, and they won 12 games the year before. He's got, I have him where most people have him. A lot of people have him around 24, 26, 27. I have him at 25, Dave. Who are your last?
All right, I got 21. I got Leonard Fournette. I like him for the same reasons you said. He's gonna get to catch a lot of passes. He's gonna be the bell cow for Jacksonville. It's all a matter if they get rid of him or not. See where he goes, but definitely like him. David Johnson, same reasons as you said too. He's gonna be the bell cow. There's no one behind him that's gonna spell him. Deshaun Watson's gonna like throwing to him as well. I like David Johnson at 22. Cam Akers, this is another surprise pick here. Now, I like my rookies, as you can see. Cam Akers should win the Rams starting running back job. I do like him replacing Gurley there. If he does win that job, I do like him, and he has very, very high upside there if he wins that job. Number 24, David Montgomery. I'm very high on him. I think he could even have a better sophomore year this year. I do like that he's getting all the carries there now as well for the Bears. I definitely think he's going to get majority of the carries there over Tariq. I know Tariq will get some catches, but David Montgomery still will get some catches as well. One of my favorite guys, too, at 25, Devin Singletary. I loved everything you said about him. He's only going to get better. The only thing I do worry about is Zach Moss there. They're saying Zach Moss is going to be like a Frank Gore and take some of those carries away from him and maybe goal line carries as well. And Josh Allen does run the ball in at the goal line, too, which will take some TDs away from Singletary. So that's the only thing that worries me about Devin Singletary, but I am very high on him as well.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Devin Singletary. Let's hope that he's a good year, and because I have him all the way up to number 17 there. So agree with you on those. Let's go over a couple quick sleepers, Dave, and then we'll move on to tight ends and kind of get through that. So I have my three sleepers I actually have pretty close in the top 31, right? So, and you can throw them anywhere you want right now. I have them 28, 29, and 31. I have Sonny Michel. And the reason he's a sleeper is because most places are ranking him around 40th. I don't see what this guy did wrong. And with Cam Newton there and his terrible accuracy, he's not even for sure starting yet. They didn't announce that. They're not going to want him to get hit a lot. They're going to be basing their game on defense. I see a ton of runs for Sonny Michel this year. Okay, I think he's worth 27. I think he is going to be a sleeper there. And, he should be able to remain healthy. We all forgot about how good Sonny Michel was 2 years ago, but no Tom Brady to whip the ball around like he does. No Gronk. I think Michel's going to get a good workload. Next one is Tevin Coleman. And I say Tevin Coleman because I have Mostert so high. If Mostert leaves, Tevin Coleman is going to be the guy in San Francisco. The guy. We have to remember that Matt Breida's not there anymore, Dave. And that Wilson guy, he can only do goal line. So Tevin Coleman would be all of a sudden boosted up a lot higher if Mostert leaves. Heck, if Coleman left, Mostert should be higher, right? So you have to think about it that way right now. It's just thinking about it. Just think about Coleman and make sure you watch what happens to Mostert. If you draft Mostert, it wouldn't be a bad thing to try to handcuff Coleman if you can get him in an 8th round or something too. Probably not going to happen, but that's possible. Then my last sleeper, I have Kerryon Johnson from Detroit. I don't know whose Wheaties Kerryon pissed on after that small injury last year. He kept him out 6 games, and all of a sudden they draft DeAndre Swift. It's like, what did you do wrong, man? Well, I have him next to DeAndre Smith because I don't know if Swift's going to for sure take over. I have them at 30 and 30, or 30 and 31. That's where I have them. So who knows? But those are my 3 sleepers. Who are yours?
I had Coleman on my sleeper list as well. I'm not going to discuss him just because you did already, but I definitely like him. If you look at his stats from 2 years ago, in 6 or 7 games, he blew up before he got banged up. So I do like him, and he was the starter actually 2 years ago too. So definitely like him a lot. The 2 other sleepers I have are going to be the winner of these 2 battles. It's going to be DeAndre Swift and Kerryon Johnson. Whoever wins that battle and is the starting running back and gets the most shares is going to be definitely the guy you want to own there, of course. But DeAndre Swift, I think, eventually will win that. But like you said, I like Kerryon as well. Whoever wins that battle is going to be the one you want, and it's definitely going to be the stud and bell cow there. And then there's going to be the winner of the Tampa Bay running back situation as well. I like Keyshawn Vaughn a lot, but I think Ronald Jones hangs on to that position, kind of like Kerryon. I think both of them will stay. Just because of the short training camps, I don't think Vaughn and Swift will have enough time to get up to speed and enough reps to actually know the offense. So I think Ronald Jones and Kerryon Johnson both are nice sleepers, and I think they could both have some nice years if they can keep the hold on those jobs.
Now that Brady's there, maybe they'll be up and be able to run the ball a little bit more in the 4th quarter too. So interesting points there. Will Tampa actually be able to run the ball? That's a good question. So we'll keep our eye on those matchups and see if Vaughn or Jones, whoever pops up out of that. Well, cool, man. Let's move on to tight ends here. We'll just go through our top 15 really quickly. It's tight ends aren't there's not as much up for the debate with tight ends. They're pretty cut and dry. But I obviously have Travis Kelce and George Kittle at number 1 and number 2, and I have Kelce edging George Kittle just because better quarterback, right? But these guys are so close, in my opinion. I love both of these guys. These guys are like the top tier, in my opinion. They're like tier 1 type guys. And I actually think that they're so good that the next step would have to be tier 2 with Zach Ertz, who took a step back last year, is number 3 for me. Mark Andrews is number 4 for me, though, because Mark Andrews was just targeted so much. He was that guy that wasn't even drafted last year that became a top 5 tight end. Whoever picked him off waivers in your fantasy league did great with Mark Andrews last year. And number 5, Dave, we made a big mistake on this guy because he got hurt last year. Evan Ingram. I don't know what happened to that guy, but I have to upgrade him a little bit too, just because the Giants don't have a ton of receivers to throw to. At least not that we know of yet. They have a couple draft picks and things that we'll have to see who turns out. Number 6, I have Darren Waller, the baller, and he did a great job with the Raiders last year, so I expect some progression from him. The next one I have is Austin Hooper at number. Actually, I think Waller was number 6. So Hooper is number 7. And look how great he was last year for Atlanta, and now Cleveland's got him. If Cleveland can fix that offense, Hooper's going to be a good touchdown target because the receivers aren't that big with Landry and Beckham. I think Hooper's going to be the big guy coming in, grabbing those high balls. Number 8, I have Tyler Higbee. And Tyler Higbee was another guy I was really late on, Dave, if you remember. I used to talk about Tyler Higbee, and he didn't do nothing. All of a sudden, year 3, when I give up on him, he
blows up.
He blows up, 9th in targets and 8th in points for tight ends last year. Tyler Higbee. Number 9, I have Blake Jarwin. This is my sleeper play, Dave. A lot of people have Blake Jarwin in the 19, 18, 20 range. Well, Blake Jarwin is going to be on the Cowboys this year with a massive upside with Dak Prescott on a contract year at quarterback, and he's going to get all Jason Witten's targets now too. So I think Blake Jarwin is my sleeper when it comes to tight ends. Number 10, I have Hayden Hurst for Atlanta. He's just going to take over for where Hooper left off. Number 11, Jared Cook, 7th in points last year, but he's kind of on the decline, so be careful with Jared Cook here. The next one I have is Hunter Henry, and a lot of people had him a lot higher than me. I lowered him. He was 8th in targets last year and 9th in points, but new quarterback this year with Tyrod Taylor, so I have no idea what to expect out of him. Mike Gesicki is the next one I have at 13. Did great in Miami last year. He's going to do better this year. Noah Fant is at 14 for Denver, and TJ Hawkinson is 15 for Detroit. Dave, what are your thoughts?
All right, great. Well, at first I had Travis Kelce. He's by far the best tight end in the league, especially with Pat Mahomes throwing to him, so I definitely agree with you on that. Kittle I had at 2, so no argument on that as well. Garoppolo likes throwing to him as well. I have Andrews at 3. Lamar Jackson did like throwing to him. Hayden Hurst is gone now, so that's going to open up even more targets for Andrews. So I do like him at 3. 4, you can't forget about Ertz. Even with Goddard there, taking some receptions away from him and targets away from him. I still like Ertz at 4. He's definitely going to get his looks, even though there's another tight end there that's going to take some away from him. Darren Waller, surprise of last year at number 5. I do like him a lot. The Raiders like throwing to him. He's going to be a big integral part of the offense, so I like him at 5. Evan Ingram, yes, I got burned on him in quite a few leagues last year. I do like for him to bounce back as a healthy tight end this year for the Giants. I think Daniel Jones will throw to him a lot. He did even last year when he was healthy, so I do like him at 6. I do have Hunter Henry a little bit higher than you at 7. I do think Tyrod Taylor will be throwing a lot to Eckler and Henry as checkdowns and safety valves, just because he does not throw that deep that often. So I do like Henry at 7 still. Higbee at 8. Like you said, you talked him up the first year he was a rookie, I remember even. He didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden he blew up last year. I do look for that to continue as well. I think he'll have a repeat year this year, and I think he'll have even a better year this year even, with Goff still throwing to me. Goff does like him a lot. Hayden Hurst, he's one of my favorite in the top 10. He's taking over for Hooper. He's going to have a ton of targets there, a ton of looks. He's going to have a ton to catches there as well. He's one of the tight ends with the least drop passes in the last couple of years as well. So his catch radius is just ridiculous. And then at 10, I have Gronk. With Brady and him, Brady's going to be looking his way. You know he is. And he's going to be his safety valve and safety blanket there. So, Gronk's going to get his with Brady. So I got to throw him in at 10. Jared Cook at 11. They did draft their tight end of the future, Adam Trautman, there. So that's definitely going to cut into his targets and receptions. But I do like Jared Cook at 11 with a high-powered offense. And they don't have many targets to throw there to other than Michael Thomas. So he's definitely going to see a lot of targets there still. And then at number 12, I do like Austin Hooper. They do have David Njoku there, though, and Harrison Bryant they drafted as well. So they do have quite a few tight ends there. They got to let him also feed, too, with Beckham and Landry as well. So I don't think he's going to get as many targets as he did with Atlanta. So I look for him to have a little bit of a dip in his production. Noah Fant at 13. I do like the Broncos offense a lot. He's one of my sleepers here. I like Font a lot. He could have even been a little bit higher for me even. I like Drew Lock a lot, and with those receivers they added, and plus with Cortland Sutton already, that offense is going to be airing it out a lot. I do like Font at 13. Mike Gesicki, I like him at 14. He's going to be the main guy for the Dolphins. And then at 15, I have Janu Smith, but it could have been him or TJ Hawkinson. I like both of them around in this area, but I do like Janu Smith with Walker leaving. He's going to be the main guy there now. He's going to get a lot of receptions.
No, that's pretty close to mine. Of course, a couple different positions flipped. Where do you have Blake Jarwin?
I have him in my next couple picks, actually. So I have him at 18.
Okay.
I do like him a lot, too, taking over for Witten, but there's just a couple other guys I like a little bit more. I like Font. I moved him up ahead of him, but because I like him in his second year, I think he could be a breakup for the Broncos.
All right. Well, my sleepers, I have Tyler Eifert, and I think I am like 22 or something, not that high. But I think, he's going to be the main guy at Jacksonville, and he never stays healthy, but maybe this is the year he does, and he can be the mustache's scapegoat, let's just say, throw when Gardner Minshew throws to him. And the next one I have, believe it or not, I have Jimmy Graham higher than everyone else. And I know the Bears haven't showed a lot on offense. I think I have Graham at 17. I think he's still worth 17 because the Bears gave him so much freaking money. And, he's got to be able to do something out there. So, I think Jimmy Graham's probably worth rostering, but he's borderline. Don't get me wrong. Anybody after 18th or 19 is probably not even worth rostering because you're going to roster two tight ends if one's pretty good. The other ones you might just pick off waivers, taking a shot at later, right? So rostering from your draft is probably something to think about. Do you have any other sleepers?
I do, actually. I like Jarwin a lot, for the reasons you noted, but I do like Ian Thomas for the Carolina Panthers. Bridgewater's going to be throwing the ball a lot more than he will be running it, so he's not going to run the ball. So I do like Ian Thomas that started there now, who took over for Greg Olsen. I do like him a lot. Jay Sternberger, with Jimmy Graham gone, I think he will be the go-to guy now for the Packers. And I do like how he looked at the end of the year. He had a couple nice catches at the end of the year last year and couple nice games towards the end of the year. I do like him to take over for Jimmy Graham in Green Bay.
All right, man. Well, good stuff on that one. Let's move into defenses here. We have Baltimore, and I'll go first here. Baltimore is number one for me, and the reason that is, Dave, is because this team's going to score a ton of points, and they're going to make other teams one-dimensional. They're going to make other teams throw the ball against them a lot. They're going to be an easier division with Cincinnati down there, with Pittsburgh not having that great of an offense anymore. Cleveland's Cleveland, but they should be better. I have Cleveland finishing second in the division this year. So, I just think that Baltimore has to jump San Fran. A lot of people have San Fran there, and they're still great. Lost a few guys, but I'm still worried about the division strength because I just said before Kyler Murray's going to be balling. That team's going to be doing better. You still have the Rams. The Rams are going to be, pretty good at least, right? And with McVay, and then Russell Wilson with the Seattle Seahawks, you can't, ever pencil them out of the playoffs. So I just think that San Fran's going to have a little bit harder of a workload, in my opinion. So they're second. Number 3 is Pittsburgh for sure. Minka Fitzpatrick was a nice addition to an already great defense. So I have Pittsburgh at number 3. Number 4, I have New England. They're going to run the ball a ton with Belichick this year, and I don't see any major beatdowns. So high floor for New England. The next one I have, number 5, is the Chicago Bears. All the key guys are still there, for the most part, and they have some holes to fill, but it's mostly their offense that's the problem, as we know. So the Bears are still in my top 6 actually top 5. They're number 5. Number 6, New Orleans. They lose Von Bell, but they get Malcolm Jenkins. It's kind of a do or die year for New Orleans. I expect them to at least start out pretty good. The next one I have is Buffalo, and people are higher on Buffalo than I am by a couple spots. I just think there's too much churn from last year. They lost Jordan Phillips and Zach Johnson. So concerned for Buffalo a little bit, but there's going to be a solid defense. Then I have Tennessee next with a nice addition of Vic Beasley. And then I have the Rams after that at number 9. Nice pickup with Ashawn Robinson there. And I'm just going to say my last one, number 10, would be Denver's defense with Fangio as their head coach. What are your top 10, Dave?
San Francisco I have at my number 1. I think San Francisco is still the top one, but I do like Baltimore a lot. San Francisco added Kinlaw in the draft, and they added a couple other free agents too on defense. And the defense was already strong to begin with. They have a lot of young defensive linemen that are really up and coming, and then they have good linebackers led by Fred Warner, who I really like. So Frisco is at number 1 for me. Pittsburgh, I do like Pittsburgh as well. I have them at number 2. Their linebacking core I do like a lot too. Devin Bush, TJ Watt, one of my favorite linebackers, along with Bush. They got really nice young linebackers there too, and some nice defensive linemen too. So I pick up Pittsburgh. I like Micah Fitzpatrick as well. So I got them at number 2. Baltimore, yeah, you can't go wrong with Baltimore. They're always good on defense. They added 2 nice young linebackers in the draft. Patrick Queen could be a stud. So I do like Baltimore a lot. And like you said, same reasons as you said, Kiev, they're going to be up in games, and they're going to be able to rush the passer, get a lot of sacks and pressure on the quarterback. Yeah. New England, same reasons you said. Belichick's a genius on defense. He always finds he has a top defense, even with what he has. Even though when he doesn't have the greatest talent on defense, he still always has a great defense. And they did add a couple linebackers in the draft and the safety as well in the second round. So they got some nice young talent coming in there too as well. Buffalo at number 5. They added a nice defensive end in the draft. They're always pretty solid on defense. Milano I like at linebacker. I like them at 5. Chicago, like you said, they're returning almost everybody on defense. They're one of the top defenses in the league the last couple of years. Definitely a solid pick at number 6. New Orleans, like you said, they didn't really lose much except for Bell. Bell was a huge loss, though, so that's why I have them a little bit lower here. I got them at 7. And then I have Kansas City, actually. They made some nice moves. Getting Honey Badger was a nice move for them. And they made nice signing of Chris Jones, too, for the extension. Their defense did step up to get them to the Super Bowl. So I think they're only going to improve on defense. So I do like them at 8. Minnesota had at 9. They're always pretty solid. I always get to see them since they're in our division of the Packers. They didn't really make many moves on defense, but they're always pretty solid as well. And they got a lot of the guys returning, so I like them at 9. And then rounded out, I have Los Angeles Rams at 10.
All right, not too different than mine. So our top 3 is just kind of shuffled, but you're pretty close with me on those. I suppose I don't have any sleeper defenses, because it's just nothing you really think about that's going to be that great. I guess Green Bay's defense could be good again, in that division. I guess we'll see what the Lions are this year. I think we'll always see what the Vikings are going to be. I think one of my busts would be Philadelphia. I'm not going to draft them high by any means. Probably will leave them actually on waivers myself. I think Minnesota's defense is a huge bust, because they lost everybody. They lost Everson Griffin. They lost Trey Wayans. They lost Linval Joseph. They lost Xavier Rhodes. They lost pretty much their main guys this year.
Yeah, those guys. A lot of those guys were older, though. Griffin's been in the league for a long time. He was getting a little bit long in the tooth, and so were some of the other guys too. So they're going to let some of the young guys step in now.
Yeah, but they didn't replace him that much. They drafted. They had a ton of draft picks, but we don't know who's good. I'm not banking on that. At least those old guys were damn good. The Chargers defense, I'll be fading. And Yeah, I think Dallas's defense could be a little bit better than people think. I really like their linebacker core out there too. So, the worst defense should be either Carolina's or Washington. So don't ever play them, even if you think that they're playing each other. It's still not a good idea. So don't touch any of those guys, man.
Oh, the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be horrible as well. I don't see them improving that much on defense either.
Yeah, I don't know. The Raiders, John Gruden, he's the offensive guy. He had the perfect situation when he went to Tampa because Dungy already set them up with a great defense, and then John Gruden comes in and wins the Super Bowl. So that was kind of interesting. Blast from the past back in the early 2000s or late 90s, whatever that was. It was 99, 2000 or something. I can't exactly remember. But anyways, Dave, we're out of time, buddy. And thank you so much for coming on. Great insight as usual, my man. This is some fun stuff. I'm glad we're finally getting some sports together, my man.
Me too, as well. Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, that was D Nasty. You can follow him on Twitter at DNastyFantasy. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Oddsbreakers. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via Twitter at the Oddsbreakers. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.